is my third attempt. When we started the testimony, I told you what the evidence would show in this case. I told you that when all the evidence was in, you would see what this case was about. It's about an unarmed man arriving home in the late hours of the night to his wife, to his 3 children. It's about this man getting out of his automobile with his back turned and being shot down. He crawled from the automobile from where he was gunned down, trying to make it to his door, in this puddle of blood, and his wife and children coming out when they heard the shot, and his 3 children pleading over and over again, "Daddy, please get up." That's what this case is about. This man being gunned down in the dark, in the back, from ambush, not being able to face his self-appointed executioner. The court has given you several instructions, and this instruction here tells you what the case is about legally. Legally, it's about whether or not this defendant, Byron Della Beckwith, murdered Medgar Evers on June 12, 1963. And you've taken an oath to make that determination, not on speculation, not on conjecture, not on guesswork, not what if, not what maybe, but on the evidence. If you believe from the evidence that he did it on June 12, 1963, he's guilty, and it's your duty to find him guilty. Bobby DeLauder prosecuted and secured the conviction of Byron Della Beckwith for the assassination of Medgar Evers, a civil rights activist who fought for what he believed in, racial equality. After Evers' death, DeLauder faced nearly insurmountable obstacles in a case that was deadlocked twice by the jury. But, in his closing argument, delivered on January 25, 1994 in Jackson, Mississippi, DeLauder brought Beckwith to justice. From ladies and gentlemen of the jury, greatest closing arguments in modern law, I present to you Bobby DeLauder's closing argument, the state of Mississippi versus Byron Della Beckwith. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here, this type of offense, this type of murder, this assassination by a sniper from ambush is something that's timeless. This is something that spans the races. It is something that every decent human being should absolutely be sickened by. Whether you be black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, it doesn't matter. Murder by ambush is the most vile, savage, reprehensible type of murder that one can imagine. And that's what we've got here. This isn't about black versus white or white versus black. This is about society, civilized society, versus the vile, the reprehensible, and the shocking. This, ladies and gentlemen, is about the state of Mississippi versus this defendant, Byron Della Beckwith. We know from the evidence that before Medgar Evers was gunned down, this defendant was in Jackson, Mississippi. We know he was here on Saturday trying to find out where Medgar Evers lived. We know he drove to the location, walked into that vacant lot to get things ready and set up. The next day was the day his car was seen by those teenage boys again. This car, his car, was seen parked in the corner with the rear end back into it, where all he's got to do is get out of the car right there in the corner where it was parked, walk down the path as shown in the pictures, get to this clump of trees, and wait. And he waited. And as he's waiting, he takes his hand and he breaks off this branch here. And what does he have? A hole. And what do you see in that hole? His perfect view of the driveway of Medgar Evers. And he waits. And after midnight that night, Medgar Evers, unsuspecting, gets out. And Beckwith takes this rifle. He braces it up against a tree. He finds Medgar Evers. And he pulls the trigger and ends his life in one fatal shot. He gets back into his car. On the way out, he can't afford to have this rifle with him, so he takes it and he sticks it in the vines right here. He gets back into his car and leaves directly, and he's headed north on Delta Drive, Highway 49, back to his home in Greenwood. The gun is found in the search the next day. His gun. The same gun he had obtained from Ennis McIntyre. We know that how? Several ways. The serial number on this gun matches the serial number on the gun on the invoice where McIntyre first purchased it. We also know from the testimony of the FBI agent from the crime lab. Remember when he told you that when he compared the cartridges that were removed from this weapon with the cartridges that McIntyre provided to the FBI, and from comparing the individual microscopic characteristics, those cartridges came from one and the same gun. And you're looking at it. Exhibit 36. This defendant's gun, this defendant's scope, his gun, his fingerprint, his car. We're not just talking about some 1960s model. We're talking about a 1963 white Valiant that, witnesses to say, also had a long area life. So what did the police do? What did we have the police do? Go back and get this photograph and enlarge this area here and see if it has this area. So, lo and behold, there she is. His gun, his fingerprint, his car, and lastly, but certainly not the least, his mouth. When he thought he had beat the system, he couldn't keep his mouth shut with people that he thought were going to be impressed by him. Two of them, one in Florida and one from Mississippi, testified. At least 6 people have given you sworn testimony that at different times none of them knew each other or came across each other at any time, told you what he has to say about this. He wants to take credit for what he has done, but he doesn't want to pay the price for it. So, not only do we have his gun, his fingerprint, his car, his scope, his mouth, we've got his own venom. His own venom has come back to poisoning just as effectively as anything else. So why did this happen? Why did any of this happen? Why was Medgar Evers assassinated? For what he believed. Medgar Evers didn't do anything of a violent nature to this defendant. What he did was to have the gall for want things like what? To be called by a name instead of boy, to walk into a restaurant, into a department store, to vote, and for your children to get a decent education in a decent school. For wanting some degree of equality for himself, his family, and his fellow men, and for wanting them to be accepted as human beings with some dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, when this type of murder happens, no matter who the victim, no matter what his race, when someone is shot down in the back for what they believe, for such meager things as wanting some dignity, when this kind of murder happens, there is just a gaping wound laid open on society as a whole. Even where justice is fulfilled, this type of wound, this type of murder will leave a scar that won't ever go away. We have to learn from the past that where justice is unfulfilled, it is up to the system. It is up to the law-abiding citizens. It is up to the law of the state of Mississippi that a perpetrator of such an assassination be brought to justice. This defendant. So that our state and the decent law-abiding people of our state will maintain a new respect for the value of human life. And that our state will truly be one that is of the people, by the people, and for the people, no matter what your race, color, or creed. One of the defense attorneys asked whether or not you had heard something to the effect of the eyes being on Mississippi, that Mississippi was on trial. Mississippi is not on trial. Justice, in this case, in whatever case, is what the jury says it is. Justice is what you 12 ladies and gentlemen say it is. So, in this case, you are Mississippi. So what is Mississippi justice? What is Mississippi justice for this defendant's hate-inspired assassination? Assassination of a man that just desired to be free and equal? If you analyze the evidence, use your common sense, examine your heart, your consciences, and base your verdict on the law and the evidence, then you will have done the right thing. If you base it on the law and the evidence and the spirit of human dignity, then there is no question in my mind that whatever you come out with, it will be the right thing. Because I have faith, it will be to hold him accountable. And the only way to do that is to find him guilty.